Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. And today I'd like to take a look at this guy right here. Starfighter has a really cool looking box cover, in my opinion at least. It's all about you are the commander of a cruiser, and you have a bunch of squadrons of starfighters that you are using to battle against the other person, two-player game. And they have squadrons at their disposal as well, and you guys are sending squadrons against one another, and you're damaging those squadrons of starfighters, and then when you break through the starfighters, you're then damaging each other's capital ships. And so it's a pretty neat little card game with a very cool theme. I don't know, let's check it out and see what you think. Now, in Starfighter, the main gist of the game is that you are trying to get your opponent's capital ship damaged all the way over to this little red icon here. The reason that there are multiple red boxes here is so that if, for example, both ships are damaged to being destroyed that last round, then whoever is furthest along is the actual loser. Okay, so that's why those extra red things are there. But that's the whole point of the game, is to get your opponent's capital ship destroyed. Now, the cards are double-sided. You don't have just the logo on one side and then graphics and everything on the other. You have basically, this is the back side of the card, which the cards can be played down on the board like that, and that gives you two fighters. But on the other side of the card is where you have these different icons and more starships to be played. Here you have, it gives you a special ability of what that card can do when this is revealed, and this is also there as well. And then this is a fighter that is going to be imposing damage on the other person's fleet, starfighter, capital ship, what have you. This means that you actually damage your own capital ship. This one right here means that you can take this card or any other card and move it to any other zone or location that you wish. These two abilities, this allows you to draw a card from the top of the deck and set it aside. It's going to be used during the next turn. And then this one allows you to pivot any card that is in any of your columns to change the orientation, because when you play these cards down, they're going to start like this, but then you can pivot the card to change, because there may be other cards on top of it. Let me just show kind of an example. When you play a card down, it's going to cover the top half. So if you play one of those pivot abilities, you can take a card and pivot it like this, so that now you have four fighters instead of just two. This allows you to destroy a card on any part of the board, either yours or your opponent's. This one allows you to move a card within a column. And then this card right here, this doesn't do anything. It's just graphically pleasing. And then this one down here gives you two starfighters in that column. This one allows you to move a card from one column to the next, only one sector away though, so if it's here, it could go to this column or this column. And then this one damages your capital ship, your opponent's, capital ship, for 1 damage. This one is an actual shield. So what this will do is it will block any damage dealt that round but 1. So if you could do 10 damage to this card, this column, and it will block all but 1 of them. This one is another kind of shield, and basically they go from 2, 3, or 4 rings, and they will soak up that much damage, how many ever rings there are. And then if the ship is not destroyed, which would get rid of the card, those regenerate. These two, this allows you to damage a starfighter on the opponent's board. And then this one allows you to flip a card in any column. So for example, if this card for some reason were played face down like that, and then in another section, that's not a legal play, I'm just trying to show you how this card would be played. So this one is played over here, and it has that flip ability on it, I would be able to take this card and flip it over, so that now that this shield ability is available. Okay, the board, first of all, has some things on it that you need to understand. So, first of all, these guys right here simply mean that you draw that many cards at the beginning of your round. So at the beginning of the game, each player is going to be able to have a hand of 5 cards. If you have no icon here in the square, that means cards that have no icon on them can be played there, or you can play a card face down there, no worries. If there are this kind of a C-looking icon, that means that cards that have that matching icon, or level 1, I mean, if you think about it, there's a level 0 here, level 1, there's 2 little half circles here, that's a level 2, then there is a circle with 2 half circles around it, that's level 3. And that determines what cards can be played there. But any card, if it is flipped over on its generic side, can be played in any of those levels. So at the beginning of the game, each player is going to have a hand of 5 cards. So player 1 will have 5 cards, and player 2 will also have 5 cards. And then the initiative token starts here in the middle. Random person is chosen to go first, and they are able to play cards out of their hand. So if we look at the cards that I have available to my hand, I have to understand, I have to keep in mind that these are going to be triggered when they are revealed. So I may not want this one to be revealed straight up, so maybe this is a candidate for being placed face down. Same thing with this one, but maybe I want to be able to draw an extra card for next round. So again, these are the kind of choices that you're going to want to make. And let's say I just start with this one. So I'm going to place this one face down right here because I don't want that first thing to trigger right off the bat. This is giving me 2 Starfighters in this column. So with that first card being played, I now have 4 cards in my hand, but it is now my opponent's turn. He is going to play this card right here, which has no special ability, but it does give me 2 Starfighters that when this half is covered up is still going to be there. So that's not a bad card. Now it is the other player's turn. So now I take my cards back up into my hand, and let's see here. We're going to go ahead and play this one face down as well, right here in my center column. Now, that covered up the 2 ships, but this one gave me 2 ships. So that's not an ideal situation, but it is allowing me to now, on my next turn, possibly play this card, which will allow me to flip another card over. Now it's my opponent's turn. Okay, so now my opponent takes his cards up into his hand, and we're going to go ahead and place this guy here. Now I'm able to play this card here because the icons match, if you can see that. And now this is giving me a number of protection because this shield's going to suck up 3 damage every time it takes. So in order for this guy to die, my opponent is going to have to score 4 points of damage on this column before this card will go away. So I take my cards back up into my hand, and I look at these cards. This card I can play, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right here, which covers up that, but it does allow me to flip over any one of the cards either on mine or his. So possibly I might want to flip this card over, but I know that's going to give him 4 spaceships, so maybe I don't. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll flip this over. Now, once that reveals, I am now able to use that ability. That ability allows me to destroy any card on the table, so I'm going to go ahead and destroy this card. And it's placed over in the discard, and now it's my opponent's turn. So my opponent looks at his hand and says, okay, well, I'm going to place a card face down right here, and that will be the end of my turn. So I look at my hand, and I could probably play one of those guys. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this card right here, We're going to play it right here. Now this allows me to pivot one of my cards to change its orientation, and this one allows me to destroy a card. So we're going to go ahead and destroy this card right here. And then we're going to pivot this card so that now we have a little bit more firepower going on there. So now I look at my cards here, and none of them are really doing that much. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. Over here, I am pretty happy with how things are, so I'm going to pass. And passing basically gives me the initiative token, so that now I have the initiative, which is going to allow me to shift this ship one sector to the right or to the left. So now it's my opponent's choice to see what he does next. So now I see that my opponent here only has one column of attack. I have two. I'm probably going to get beat up pretty bad right here, but I have two columns of attack where he only has one. So I think I'm going to go ahead and play this card face down here. Now the problem with that is that on the beginning turn, I'm only going to draw two cards. But I am hoping to score a good bit of damage on my opponent's capital ship during this battle. So now the battle would actually begin. But before it begins, the person with the initiative is able to shift their spaceship, their capital ship board, one to the right or one to the left. So what I think we're going to do though is, I think we're going to keep it right there. So what would happen here is the person who has the initiative is first of all able to determine if he's going to slide it or not, and then he also determines which order from left to right or from right to left the columns are resolved in. And so we would here pick, well, I'm going to choose from left to right. All right, so this column activates first. This person scores 1 point of damage on, first of all, any starfighters in that column. There aren't any, so he scores 1 point of damage on my capital ship. Then we come to this column. I am doing 1, 2, 3, 4 points of damage. He only has 2 starships, so both of those starships would be damaged, which would remove the card from the board, and then any extra damage would be put upon his capital ship. 1, 2. And then this column would resolve. He's doing 2 points of damage here, which I don't have any starships there, so, I mean starfighters rather, so that goes directly to my capital ship, 1, 2. And then that would be the end of the round. These will go back here, destroyed cards, go back to the discard pile, and then we reinforce. We get ready for next round. I'm going to be drawing 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. My opponent would draw 3 cards. And the game would progress that way until one capital ship or the other is completely destroyed. And the person who destroys the other person's capital ship first wins. First of all, the artwork I think is really, really good. I wouldn't say phenomenal or out of the park or whatever you like, but it's very neat, it's very clean, it is pleasant to look at. So they didn't knock it out of the park, but they also didn't do a horrible job with it either. This is just really good artwork, and it does do its job and pull you into the theme a bit. The starfighters are all kind of stationary and kind of static looking on the cards, but the different icons are very well done in that they let you know what they do just by looking at them. Now, of course, you are going to have to go through and read what each one of them does the first few times that you play, but they do become intuitive. So kudos on the iconography. Usually I'm not a fan of it, but here they did it well. Good job. The gameplay, however, after I got into the game and started playing through each successive round, it began to click a lot more about how strategic and how tactical, I know those are two different things, but you can have a strategy, but then you might have to change based upon how your cards are coming up and how your opponent's cards are coming up. So there's a lot of different kinds of tactics that are in there as well. I really enjoyed how when you have one card destroyed, you pull off, and if there's any special effect on there and it's revealed again, boom, that triggers. So there is a couple of levels of tactics available here. You can actually plan each column so that you know that first one's going to be destroyed, but then that's going to pop that next special ability that's underneath that first card. I like that. A little bit of a memory aspect, but it's more of a tactical memory than it is just straight memory, so I'm okay with it. All in all, I think this is a challenging two-player game. It can go longer than you expect, though, so I would be careful with that. I wouldn't say that it is a filler game, because it can go a little bit long, especially when you have two people that kind of are clued into what you're supposed to be doing and how to use those different abilities to protect yourself but then attack your opponent. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. One thing that I would probably do is follow the rule book, and it says to use those green coded cards for your first maybe first 1 or 2 playthroughs, so that you get an idea of how to play the game, and then add in those blue coded cards where a little bit more complexity and depth is added to the game. That probably will give you a little bit better, and then once you go through those first couple of games, I think you'll have a very good idea on how to play the game the way it was supposed to be played. So from me, Starfighter is going to be getting for a card game that is basically about strategy, tactics, and it's almost abstract. So it looked like it was going to be low on my list because when I saw the box and I was like, ooh, and then I heard how it played and I was like, but then I actually got through and played it and I was like, cool, this is a good game. So I'm going to give this 2 blasting Starfighters up in the vacuum of space, I guess. But anyway, 2 thumbs up from me. Really cool game. I'd love to play it again. See you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.